The practice begins with recognizing the first noble truth, which is ill-being. Ill-being in our body, ill-being in our mind, ill-being in our environment, ill-being in society. And when you are truly there, not only you can get in touch with the wonders of life in you and around you for your nourishment and healing, but you can get in touch with the ill-being, recognize the ill-being in order to know what to do and what not to do. To do in order to change the situation, not to do in order not to make the situation worse. Violence, war, poverty, despair, suicide, the breaking up of families, all form of ill-being is there around us and in us. The ill-being of the environment penetrates us, and the ill-being in us penetrates into the world. And mindfulness helps us to look deeply into the nature of ill-being and find out the roots. The making of ill-being. It is the recommendation of the Buddha that we should not try to run away from our ill-being. We should not try to cover up our ill-being, because we have the tendency to do so. To look at our being, to recognize our ill-being may be unpleasant. But the Buddha advises us to hold our ill-being and have a look to see where it has come from. And Shariputra, one of the most intelligent disciples of the Buddha, he proposed that we look at the second noble truth in terms of consumption, in terms of food. The feeding of your being. Because the Buddha said, nothing can survive without food. Nothing whatsoever can survive without food. Our love needs food in order to survive. If you do not feed your love properly, your love will die. Your happiness also needs source of nutriment. If you don't know how to feed your happiness, it will die. The same thing is true with your suffering, with your fear, your anger, with your despair, because you have been feeding your anger. That is why your anger has become very strong. You have been feeding your fear. That is why your fear has become so strong. We have been feeding our violence. That is why violence in the world has become very strong. If we know how to cut off the source of nutrients of suffering, suffering will have to die. Ill being also need food to survive. Before I go to detail, I would like to finish with the third and the fourth. The third noble truth is the cessation of ill being. It means the beginning, the existence of well-being. The cessation of ill-being means the presence of well-being. It's the same. The absence of darkness means the presence of light. So the cessation of ill-being is the existence of well-being. So the teaching of the Buddha speak about suffering and happiness. Happiness is possible. But if there is happiness, if we can stop ill-being, there must be a way. So this, the fourth, is the path leading to the cessation of well-being, of ill-being. It means the path leading to well-being. It's the same. It's the making of well-being. And we identify it as the Noble Eightfold Path. We can speak of the second. And the fourth in terms of path. This is the path leading to ill-being. The path of violence, the path of craving, the path of discrimination. It is exactly the opposite path. It is the ignoble path. So here is a path leading to ill-being, and here is the path leading to well-being, the cessation of ill-being. So we can speak of the second and the fourth noble truth in terms of path. But Shariputra, that senior disciple of the Buddha, he proposed that we talk about the second and the fourth noble truth in terms of nutriments. Because the Buddha has said several times that nothing can survive without food. Ill-being cannot survive if you don't feed it. And because we have been feeding ill being, that is why ill being has come and stayed. And if we know how to provide us with the kind of nutriment, good nutriment, and then we can stop ill being and we can allow well-being to manifest. And that is why there is the teaching of the 4 nutriments in Buddhism. The Buddha has said this. What has come to be? What has come to be? Namely, your suffering, your ill being. What has come to be? If you know how to look deeply into it and discover the source of nutriment that has brought that to you, you are already on the path of emancipation. You are already on the path of emancipation, of liberation. It means that if we look into our being and we found out what source of food we have used to feed it, and then we get enough enlightenment in order to stop it. What has come to be? If you know how to look deeply into it and identify the source of nutriment that have brought it to you, you are on the path of liberation already. Suppose you have a depression, ill being. That what has come to be. And you should know that your depression must have come from a source of nutriment, of food. You have lived in such a way in the last 6 months. You have fed yourself with the kind of nutriment that has allowed your depression to come. You have to identify the source of consumption. When you read an article in the magazine, you consume. When you watch a film, you consume. When you listen to the conversation of the friend, you consume. You have consumed many things that can be the kind of source that has brought your depression to you. And that is why the second noble truth is to look for the roots, to look for the nutriment, to look for the consumption that has led to us. If we practice according to the 4th mindfulness training, right consumption, there will be no depression, there will be no violence and anger. So the path of right consumption is truly the good path.